Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, I hope everybody's having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. So as everyone was looking at XRP and saying, hey, why isn't XRP moving? Well, it's on the move today. We just addressed it in yesterday's video. Actually, we were talking a little bit about what XRP was doing, what was going to happen if XRP does what we believe XRP is going to be doing. And it seems as though the party is starting a little bit, as Bitcoin has been ranging with Bitcoin dominance slightly falling. We are starting to see altcoins picking up some steam. And even if we look at the 24-hour span and, look through the list, Algorand, one of the biggest movers right now in my portfolio. You'll love to see it. Listen, this was a straight up buy signal under 10 cents. I talked about it multiple times. Chainlink also doing some very great moves here. There's a few other ones as well. So far, we haven't really seen too much traction on a few altcoins, but I do think that they are going to soon pick up a lot of steam here soon. But with XRP, so I just talked about this chart in yesterday's video. Look at where we are at. 65.5 cents was the big moment of truth. We are peaking above it. We have done this in the past, as you guys do see here. I'm looking at this on the weekly chart. We need to have a major break above this level. I'm watching this very closely here because, again, if we could break out of here and we could break past 75 cents, because that's a significant resistance zone as well, 93 cents is the last level before we see $1.20. XRP looks beautiful here. Looks incredible. I've been addressing this for a while now, as everyone thought that XRP was just going to sit and do nothing. Well, guess what? Now we're starting to see things really heating up. And by the way, volume. Trading volume on XRP is basically negative right now. Negative almost 12%. So volume's not there just yet, but I do believe that this is going to improve very soon. Remember, this trading volume is positive and negative trading volume. If we looked more into it, I would obviously be able to address a few things, but right now I don't want to talk too much technicals. I actually want to talk about some things happening around the world of banking and finance that could very well affect crypto in a very large way. And what I'm talking about is, do you guys remember back in March and April of this year? It's okay if you don't, but here you have it, right? Here was March. Bitcoin collapsed. We were at 25K. It collapsed all the way down to about roughly $20,000. During that time, we've seen banks imploding. Now, everyone thought, well, what the hell is Bitcoin doing? What's crypto doing? I thought this was supposed to be a hedge against the big banks failing and things like that. Well, guess what? Very soon after, we started to see how resilient crypto and Bitcoin really is against the overall banking and financial sector. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because now we are headed towards significant times. Big shout out to Fame21 More, XRP Darren. We do see 1 minute 40 seconds liquidity shocks in the treasury market due to new Basel requirements, Blackswan, ? And yeah, this is very significant. Listen up to about the 1 minute and 40 second long seconds in this video here. This is Goldman Sachs' Richard Ramsden talking about Basel III requirements.
The execs will tell the committee proposed new rules for banks could stifle lending and hurt the economy. For more on that, let's go back out to Leslie Picker, who is at the Goldman Sachs Banking Conference with a special guest. Leslie?
Hey, Kelly, yes, a very perfectly timed conference, one hosted by Richard Ramsden, the analyst who covers banks and financial institutions. Richard, thank you so much for being here. So we just hit on some of these testimonies that are expected to be delivered in front of the Senate Banking Committee tomorrow. Key focus, you've done a lot of work on this, is the Basel III endgame rules. I'm curious, what parts of these rules do you think will get the most pushback, and what will they be the most successful in pushing back on that could ultimately lead to some watering down of these rules that they say will be so harmful to credit and the economy and so forth?
So the Basel III proposals have obviously been in focus now for 6 months. It's obviously been a key focus at this conference. Pretty much every large bank that's presented has spent quite a lot of time talking about these. I mean, if you take a step back, what these proposals will do is significantly increase the capital requirements on the largest banks. And I think, look, what the largest banks are saying is, look, this could fundamentally change the way that they think about certain businesses, and it will change the way in which they approach certain types of lending decisions, whether that's lending to households for mortgages. It will change how they think about pricing loans for small businesses. It could have ramifications on liquidity in financial markets that could impact things like the treasury market. So look, these banks are really, I think, saying, look, holistically, these proposals are very far-reaching, and there hasn't been a cost-benefit analysis that's been done that really thinks through, look, what is the ultimate cost of these proposals relative to the benefit, which is that you will obviously have a safer banking system on the other side of it.
And that's
So there you guys have it. Now, the thing is that with Basel III going live, the things about this, the number one thing is that it will require banks to hold physical gold valued at 100%. Unallocated paper gold receipts are no longer considered equal assets. It also requires many of the reserves to be backed. This is a big deal, considering the fact that we know that the fractional reserve banking system, we know the banking system as a whole, well, guess what? It's fraudulent. 99% of what we see being pushed around the banking sector, the financial sectors, I mean, hell, even Wall Street, it's all corrupt. It's all manipulated. Now, this Basel III requirement is going to change a lot of things. And everyone out there, you need to ensure that your bank is compliant with this. Because I do think that we are going to start to see many banks failing. I also think that funds could also be at risk here. In my opinion, this is why we start to see the big banks getting terrified of things. And just recently, we could see all of the CEOs at the top US banks being very, very terrified of what's happening with Basel III. We do see here, top US bank CEOs testified before the Senate Banking Committee to rally against the Basel III endgame proposal. Check this out.
We had 10 years to do this, and it's shocking to me that we're sitting up there 10 years and we're talking about what's it going to do for small business, and we have to analyze it today.
It has much more an impact than people think.
Additional increases are wholly unnecessary.
Almost every element of the Basel III endgame proposal would make lending and other financial activities more expensive.
As it stands, the proposal would increase the cost of capital and borrowing across the economy.
As the cost of debt goes up, it certainly can create volatility in our funding treasuries. It can create volatility in the treasury market.
It'll particularly diminish mortgages for lower income people.
Ultimately punitive to economic growth and doesn't strike the right cost-benefit analysis.
It was not thoughtfully done. I'm not sure it was shared fully among all the regulators. This should be relooked at. We had
And the number one reason why all these top CEOs, why they're terrified, is because guess what? They have ran a monopoly system that's been run on manipulation, falsified documentation. None of this is backed by physical value. None of it is. Mike Christo 8 made a perfect post regarding this. This was just on December 5th, right? The CIA doesn't want the world to know what they're up to through bank money laundering. ISO 20022, Basel III. Citigroup, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, the monetary system is now under global surveillance through ISO 20022 and Basel III. The bankers have to come clean on their activities, and they don't want to. Sovereign debt crisis is here, folks. U.S. Treasury bonds are no longer the global reserve asset to trade oil, a liability to value America's debt. Got gold, anyone? And yeah, now we are seeing significance playing out. Listen, I brought up the idea of March of this year, where we started to see cryptos collapsing right? Because again, we've seen them blaming crypto, talking negatively about crypto. But what we've seen was crypto say, hey, we're a hedge against this. What are we doing? And when I say that, I mean individuals seen this. And I know that they've seen this because I seen a ton of volume flowing on chain into Bitcoin, into cryptocurrencies. And hell, you don't even need to take my word for it. Look at where we were at during that time, which marked the significant bottom of the year. We never seen this price level yet again on Bitcoin. And look at where we are at now, $44,000. Look at where the entire market is right now. While banks are still battling the liquidity problems, banks are still in trouble. But at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares about the banks? There's other places to park your money. And I'm not saying that crypto's the safest place to park your money or anything like that. No, but I'm just saying that this technically is the reason why crypto was created. A hedge against the 2008 crisis, for an example. And I think people realize that. Now, with this Black Swan event, I don't think that it's going to affect crypto the way most people think. I think just like we seen earlier this year with the big banks collapsing, I think that now what we're going to see is a Black Swan event that's going to affect the big banks. Because again, this is a big problem because again, liquidity is tight still within the banking sector. I bring that up because a lot of people don't realize that, all because we started to see the banks bouncing back a little bit, it doesn't mean that they're out of the woods. I strongly believe that banks are still constricted. I think that many people are not taking out loans or anything like that. Lending has also dropped significantly. And when you have things like that happening, well, guess what? Banks are getting more and more constricted. Outside of this, there was a video that just recently went around on X. It got a ton of views. Everyone's seen this. And I'm sure that you guys probably already seen it, but I'm going to play the clip just in case you haven't. But you see, oh snap, did she just say Basel III endgame? And yes, she did, because again, this has always been the name of this. It's the endgame proposal.
Hillary, what are the business leaders telling Congress?
Hi, Lydia. Well, all 7 bank CEOs that were here in front of lawmakers today raised their hands when asked if raising capital requirements would end up hurting everyday Americans. The new changes known as Basel III endgame would change capital requirements for financial institutions. But all 7 CEOs raised their hands when asked if changing these rules would hurt first-time home buyers, people saving for retirement, farmers and ranchers, and small business owners. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank earlier this year raised attention to the possible need for more regulations, but Bank of America's CEO Brian Moynihan says Basel III would not have prevented that from happening.
Silicon Valley didn't threaten the U.S. economy. It could have been resolved, and it was resolved.
Well, why did the president, act so swiftly if there wasn't such a concern?
You'd have to ask the people. We didn't think that all that could have been resolved differently.
Wall Street leaders also got a stern talking to from Republican from Ohio, Senator J.D. Vance, who scolded them for meddling in politics, from releasing statements about the Georgia voter ID law or making net zero climate pledges.
Whether we achieve net zero and when we achieve net zero is a debate for the elected representatives of the American people. If you guys are going to use the financial power that you've accumulated to go to war against the values of our voters, impoverish our constituents who rely on cheap energy, and destroy the jobs of people who work in the energy sector, why should we listen to you when you come and ask us for a tax break or for reasonable regulations?
Crypto was also a big topic of this hearing today. Senator Warren pressed a lot of these CEOs about the role of crypto and how it's utilized by terrorist organizations. Jamie Dimon said that he would close down crypto if he was the government. Of course, these banks have a vested interest in trying to close down crypto, because then that would mean more money would be funneling through their institutions. Lydia?
Yeah, very interesting position on crypto there. Thank you, Hillary Vaughn, for breaking that all down for us.
And as we really look at that, what's significant about crypto being brought up in conversation in that clip as well is the fact that, you know, crypto plays a vital role within Basel III as well. In fact, we know that it does, considering the fact that the BIS put out a report on this. Here you guys have that they brought together in December, the Basel Committee, and how they decided to develop measures to address window dressing behavior by some banks in the context of the framework for global systemically important banks. And within this press release, we could see the entire breakdown, and the number one thing that you're welcomed with is crypto assets. And even within this, they talk about the risk for banks providing crypto asset custody services. They talk about the operational risk for it. They also address how these crypto asset custody activities will need to be monitored, and they need to make sure that it's all accounted for. Again, the reason why they're bringing this up is because now everything needs to be documented. All banks will need to be held accountable for everything that they're claiming to either 1, hold within their reserves, 2, have it backed by something physical like gold, and now even with crypto being brought up, they need to make sure that they have accountability in place. Everything is tied together with these major standards coming out. Basel III, ISO 20022. Everything is gearing us up for significant change. And hell, even recently, we've seen this post. Shocking changes not seen in 100 years are happening as we speak. Remember, the Saudis supported the US dollar since the 1930s, petrodollar deal. Its pivot to the anti-dollar BRICS can't be ignored any longer. A geopolitical reset of enormous proportions in front of our eyes. Opinion poll conducted in 2022 found that a majority of Saudi citizens, 59%, prioritized alignment with the Russia-China bloc rather than the United States. Only 41% of Saudi citizens described relationships with the US as important, behind China 55% and Russia 52% and European Union 46%. This is very significant. And also, we see this: New Deal, New World. Here we have gold, deal, oil. Down here, this was the original images. Again, significant change is in the air right now. It's happening. Everything has been aligning perfectly. The entire system as we know it is going to change. Everything that we know of is changing in real time. And remember what I have been saying. Crypto plays a vital role in this entire evolution. It's the number one reason why we have the BIS, outside of even this press release, talking heavily about crypto, coordinating with crypto-based companies, addressing DLT, major settlement platforms, systems. How can we implement CBDCs? All of this is aligned. And remember, with crypto, what truly happens to the big banks. With this clip, it's not so much about how banks will see more money flowing through their systems. They don't care. What the banks really care about is being in control. And outside of being in control, they also care about being obsolete. Crypto makes banks obsolete. Brian Brooks brought this up. He said it. Cryptocurrencies are not replacing currency, but it is replacing banking, because crypto is banking. The big banks are terrified, but they're also terrified that for the first time in history, banks need to be held accountable. They need to have physical values allocated 100%, and now paper receipts are no longer a thing of value. Banks are terrified, they're concerned, because this means that a lot of banks now, well, guess what? Everything's going to be transparent. And it's going to put enormous amounts of pressure on the banking sector. This is very beneficial for crypto because, again, what we have seen proven time and time again is that you cannot trust bankers. You cannot trust the banking sector. It's all a formulated scam to continue to lend your money out while not holding any of the money in reserves. It's the number one reason why the FDIC says that they can cover all bank accounts with sub $250,000 in them. Yet guess what? They only have $180 billion to back over like 16 or 17 trillion dollars in deposits. Yeah, guess what? They're not covering every bank account. They don't care. But also, the thing about Basel III that you need to worry about is the individuals that will also get wiped out, which is going to be the average individual that does not look into crypto. They don't know what Basel III actually means. They don't understand what's actually going on. Those are the individuals that will be wiped out. So you need to make sure that, one, your bank is compliant with Basel III. Two, make sure that you are not putting all your money in the bank. Make sure that you are, diversified into physical gold, physical silver. I also love physical silver. You guys know me. I've been talking about it for a while on this channel. And make sure that you're even diversified into crypto as well. Again, not financial advice, but I do believe that the banking sector is under a tremendous amount of pressure. I think that liquidity has dried up within the banking sector as well. I think people are starting to realize that, listen, the banks, they're not safe. And I also think that right now, currently, as we see economic crisis among individuals, meaning a lot of people are not spending a lot of money. They're really looking into credit more now than ever before. We see individuals tapping into 401ks and their retirement plans in order to, just get by. Well, they're not going to the bank and saying, hey, can I get a personal loan? Can I get this loan? Can I do this? Can I do that? A lot of people they're just drowning in debt right now. So they're not going out to get a new loan. They're not going out to spend a ton of money. So liquidity within the actual financial sector is drying up. And I do think that right now we are headed towards possibly a black swan event within the banking sector, which will only benefit crypto more. And I don't mean it in, hey, let's hope for this so that crypto can pump. No, I just think that crypto right now is being looked more heavily into as a hedge against what the bankers have been doing forever. And I think that that's the number one reason why these bankers are so damn terrified of what's happening. And all of these chips that are falling into place, it's all a part of the much larger plan of action. And this is going to take place, by the way, Basel III is going to take place around the 2024-2025 timeframe. 2025 is when this starts to get implemented. So we'd still have some time on this. But all of this is the chips falling into place. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and don't forget to go down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.